everyone. So this is our inspiration piece for this edition of Quilters Vibe, and I have a very, very special guest, Daisie Scraps, who is another YouTuber, and she's amazing. So I highly encourage you to check out her take on this quilt design as well. So I decided to start my layout kind of mid-process because, well, first of all, I didn't want this video to be like 40 minutes long. Secondly, I felt like you guys didn't need to see me punch a bunch of hexagons and 1-inch squares and like figure out how to do this. The only thing that I will say is definitely make sure you start in the middle of your paper and have a firm idea of where you want your photo to go. And then what you're basically going to do is create this quilt design with 1-inch squares and a hexagon punch. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just adding the details around the edges. Now, if you notice the quilt design at the beginning, the quilt design was very filled in. Like there's more, it looks like the middle looks a little bit chunkier. And we're going to fix that by using things that are not paper. So that this is just like the paper layer of my quilt design. Daisie got to pick the quilt design, and I love the one that she used. It was very, very pretty. And we had a lot of conversation back and forth about what punches we could use and how we could recreate this quilt layout within the confines of our paper products, punches and different things. And hers is beautiful too. Definitely, definitely. I will try to remember to leave a link to her channel below, but if not, you can just search Daisie Scraps and you can find her. So Daisie's going to be joining me a couple times here and there. I'll still have layouts popping up in between that are just mine, but I felt like she would be a fabulous fit to this series, and I follow her on Pinterest, and she's always pinning these gorgeous quilt designs. So I felt like her style and what she likes to do would work. She would bring something new to this series. So I am currently just putting down these strips. I'm leaving a lot of this process in just so that you can watch, so that you have an idea of how I created these shapes and what I did. The two blue pieces in the middle that create my middle section, that's all using hexagons. I just punched out 3 and then cut 1 in half. So I kind of went off camera and decided what I wanted to do next. I made my decisions off camera because they took a really long time. So I know my photo is going to go here, and I practiced some stitching underneath. And so what I've decided to do is I'm going to fold back these little squares, and then I'm going to add 2 sequins on top of each other in the middle just for some bling. I went through my stash and I found these really like big, bulky, they're like floral jewels that a friend of mine gifted to me, and I'm going to do faux stitching all the way around. That's what I'm showing you here. And nothing is stuck down. I have some blue buttons all the way around. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick everything down now. So I'm going to add a sequin there to fill in that gap, and I'm really just looking for ways. So I have the basic bone of my design here down here with the paper, and now I want to add a little bit of a wow factor. I want to add just a little bit of different textures and designs, and I thought that that would be nice to do because so far in all of my quilt designs I have basically just used paper. So I thought it might be nice to show you how you can take maybe other elements from your stash and incorporate them in. So I got some, you know how much I love my Zots bling, generally. But I did try some of these glue dots. They're like they're called micro glue dots. And the glue dots themselves are fine. I don't have any trouble with them. They're perfectly, they stick, they're okay. I'm not a fan of how they come on this big roll. So I still recommend the Zots bling because while these are a nice size and they stick just fine, they were kind of difficult for me to figure out how to get off the roll. I'm going to use them, but I wasn't very kind of impressed, I guess. It wasn't as easy to get off or, you know, it wasn't as easy to get them off the roll as my Zatzblinger. So this is my plan. I'm going to just work my way around this entire layout, gluing things down, and then I'm going to come in with my Muji pen and just add a whole bunch of faux stitching. This layout was one that did take me a long time. I worked on it over parts of 3 days. And part of that was because I had some other things going on. I mean, I can't say, I couldn't have sat and scrapbooked for longer than maybe 30, 40 increments. But this still took quite a bit of time. So to make my photos stand out against that busy background, which I'll show you in a minute, I'm going to pop my photo up on white cardstock. I'm going to mat it, and I gave it a nice wide mat. And then I'm also going to grab some of my fun foam strips, and I'm going to adhere the fun foam to the back, and then we'll grab the background and adhere the photo down. So there's the background. Everything is glued down and in place. I don't know if you can see the faux stitching really well on camera, but it is there, and it does add quite a bit to the layout. If you're curious about these papers that I used, all of the papers are papers from my June Horizon Click Kit. And that's where, as I work through the embellishments, that's where all of my embellishments are going to come from as well. I did use sequins from my stash and buttons from my stash, and those big jewels, which I was they worked so well. I'm so happy. I went through my stash and kind of pulled some circular elements out. But I'm going to use this washi tape in a couple places. Initially, I thought I was going to use, so this paper is just white cardstock with some Altenew polka dot thick washi, and it's actually a leftover. If you watched my Sketch It Thursday video for Click Kit, or for Crafty Maven, where I did all the stamping with the Altenew stamps, this is that offcut from that piece of paper that I covered in washi. So nothing, I leave things like that on my desk. If it sits there for too long and I'm really like sick of looking at it and I still haven't used it on a layout, it does end up getting tossed, but I try to keep things there for a while just to, so if I have the opportunity to use them, I can. So I will end up taking that piece that's up at the top left of the photo off, but for now I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to do some embellishing there. And now I'm going to go through this die cut. This is a Bella Boulevard die cut. It's the Island Escape, and it's all florals, and they're beautiful, but they're huge. Oh my word. I just don't, a lot of these pieces, I have no idea how I'm going to use them because they are so gigantic. I honestly, I mean, this is a 4x6 photo, but I generally tend to scrapbook smaller scales and smaller sizes. And so for me, a lot of these big ephemera pieces, if I was doing an 8.5 by 11 layout or a TN spread, they would be bigger than my photo. So I don't know. I kind of have this idea that maybe I could use like some of those giant pieces. Like seriously, who's going to use that? I honestly think I might be able to use it as actually a photo mat, but I don't know. They're huge. I did attempt, but they're gigantic. So we'll see what I end up doing with those. And I know that seems to be a trend with manufacturers right now to put these like honking giant ephemera pieces in their ephemera packs. But I'm not amused. I don't like it. Not at all. So I'm going through and I grabbed some of the ephemera. This took me a long time. I'm going to flip through the ephemera pieces a bunch, and I do decide to just like hack into one because I was like, no, this is too big. And there's only a couple small ones, and then part of me was like, but if I use all the small ones on this layout, then what do I do next time I scrapbook with this kit, right? I've still got these like gigantic ephemera pieces. So I do work out how I want all this to go, and then I decide I want to put some black splatters just to give these areas some definition. As much as I love the quilt background, it is very busy, and so I want to add some things that are going to kind of like draw your eye around the layout. And I don't want your eye to directly go to that background. I want your eye to go to my photos. So I feel like I accomplished that quite well. I'm really, really happy with how this layout turned out. I think it turned out nice. I was talking to my scrappy bestie, Christina, and I was also messaging Daisie while I was making this and getting some input because this is, a 12 by 12 is not my kind of favorite size to work in. And I knew this particular photo needed, or this particular quilt design needed a 12 by 12 canvas. And so I kind of got some ideas flowing. Now I'm just sticking it down. So I've decided where I want all these pieces to go. And I'm just going to add some adhesive and get everything stuck down where I would like it. And then I'm going to add a title and my year, and that'll finish up this layout. Really, really easy. Once I kind of got that big, busy background going. And I do like this yellow flower that I cut in half because I think that it really gives like a place for your eye to kind of land. Because it is a giant yellow flower, I totally made it work. And so, yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this series. I have plans for another layout that I really want to work on. I'm just waiting on a set of stamps I ordered to be delivered. And so we'll have that one. Lots and lots of fun things coming up in June. I'll mention a few of them. We're doing, Christina and I are doing our Rediscover Your Stash Spending Freeze. That event will primarily be in Facebook, but there will be lots and lots of videos here as well. And I've gathered together a huge group, I mean like 20 plus YouTubers together. And we have a really fun summer series, again, to help you use your stash and get rid of some of the products. I think that that is something that a lot of us could use, right? I have a teeny tiny scrapbook room, and I really, really like to get through my product, and I'm often asked how I do that. How do I, use product? And there's lots of different ways you can use it. So I collected together a lot of YouTubers with a lot of different ideas, and we're going to share all those ideas with you. That will complete this layout for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 2 videos going live. Woohoo! I'll talk to you all soon. Bye!